Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the action. I'm Chesser, joined by Gorion. And right now we have Pandemic Legion versus Volta. Pandemic Legion fielding a Navy Scorpion, double Sleipnir, Scimitar, double Jackdaw, double Zvipple, double Manicore. Gorion, break me down on V0LTA.
Volta looks like they're going with the desert theme with double Rattlesnake, double Scorpion, Purifiers, Manticores, Nemesis. They are going for a headshot.
I'm really concerned about Volta's support wing against what Pandemic Legion has. They only have straight bombers, so they need to be very, very careful on their positioning against these Jackdaws, not to mention the Zipples that are going to be burning down their throat. If the battleships cannot screen the Zipples, they are going to just start going to work on Volta's team, not to mention the fact that Volta has no Logi. So these opening seconds of the match are going to be huge. What is Volta going to do with these extra points that they did not invest in Logi?
I'm not sure, man. I mean, we're coming in with Volta running in at 0. They are trying to get as close as they possibly can. They are going for an aggressive attack where they could try to attack any of the critical ships that PL has right off the bat, and we'll see if they're able to pull it off.
And it looks like right now, Pandemic Legion, both of their Zipples doing exactly what they need to do. Casper and Avery getting into the back line. Purifier going down already. Scrambled Web. Another Nemesis is coming down now too. The entire battleship core of Volta is completely leaving their bombers in the dust, and they are getting eviscerated by these two Zipples.
Yeah, the support wing on PL side is just going through these like a fire through a wheat field. It's just going to be one after another just dying.
And I still don't see any damage coming in on Pandemic side. It looks like they're trying to kill a Sleipnir, but that's going to be difficult to kill with its own local tank as well as the Scimitar reps coming on it. Volta is just charging into the Pandemic Legion team, but Pandemic Legion very smartly is just kiting them out. The battleship core that Volta has is very slow, and right now one of the Navy Scorpions is dipping low shield.
Yeah, I mean, he's already doing not so hot, and only one bomber left on Volta, and Pandemic Legion, as you said, was just pulling away. They've got ships that have plenty of speed.
But the Scimitar tanking has got a web on it, and the Heavy Newts. Heavy Newts finally came into play here. He got caught, which I think he maybe could have piloted a bit better there, but you know what? All of that play now, Navy Scorpion almost dead, but Pandemic Legion is going to be losing their Scimitar in just a moment. The question is
also going down too.
Can Volta claw it back? If they can kill the Scimitar or the Sleipnir before this Navy Scorpion goes down, can they do it? I'm not sure. Zipples are going to come back into play. The Jackdaws are going to come back into play. They're going to hold down these battleships, and it's going to make it a lot easier for PL to kite around the map.
That is true. I mean, that Sleipnir's his charges must be out. I mean, in addition to whatever else tank he's got, the Scimitar is still webbed and scrammed and nuded now. If they can pull off the Scimitar,
this Sleipnir has to go down. Volta is probably just clawing at their screens. They need to get that Sleipnir down. Okay, now are they going to switch to the Scimitar or not? Scorpion for Sleipnir, I don't think that's a good trade. This Scimitar now taking primary damage, but it may be too little too late. Those two Manicores cannot be understated. They're going to be completely safe, sitting at range, just pummeling the Navy Scorpions and Rattlesnakes that Volta has left. And unless those three battleships have tremendous local tanks, this is going to be very difficult for them to claw it back under the sustained DPS of those two bombers.
Well, that Scimitar is fluctuating wildly here between full shields and not, but it's, as you said, it's just a little bit too late. The damage that they have left with those two Rattlesnakes, a good chunk of their damage being drones, and that's obviously not as hot as it used to be with the difference in limiting it to tier 1 drones only. They went for the jugular, and it's just not going to work. I mean, the Scimitar is going into structure now.
But they're losing. So Scimitar's down at this point. Navy Scorpion is very low in shield. This is going to be dropping shortly under this Manicore DPS. So the question is can two Rattlesnakes clean up a Sleipnir and a Scorpion while being shot by two Manicores? My answer is probably no, unless Volta can pull out something amazing here. I don't see this going their way. Again, the support fleet fight is really what cost them the match. We saw Casper, the last time PL was fighting NC, make big plays, and now joined by Avery in the Zipple, literally at the start of the match in speed mode, right behind the bombers, and those four battleships left them completely to die. They maybe got 10, maybe 12 volleys off in total, probably not even a reload in, and when you're just throwing away your entire support wing to two T3Ds while trying to burn into the enemy gang, I think that's a very poor trade. Very, very poor trade.
Well, even at the best case scenario, at the rate that they're both dropping right now, it'd just be a snake for a Scorpion. You're still left with this huge points imbalance. I mean, you basically just put yourself in a hole.
Yeah.
And they were not able to claw their way out.
Definitely. Using T1 drones is a problem. But the other thing is when you look at the support wing of Pandemic Legion, double Jackdaws, ships like that, their ability to kill drones is actually pretty high. So not only are these Rattlesnakes using T1 drones, but those drones that they can field, which if they're using the Rattlesnake bonuses, which are two very, very pimped up heavy drones, the
Still going to get snipped.
Yeah, they're definitely still going to get snipped.
I mean, the snakes are getting put down. And Pandemic Legion is definitely stepping on this.
We're actually just
snake.
getting word. This is Pandemic Legion's flagship Navy Scorpion. So if this actually dies and PL loses this Navy Scorp.
Oh, that was expensive.
So Pandemic Legion's going to take this game, but you know what? Losing a flagship is painful, especially this early in the tournament. We're not sure. I have to double check on that. I don't see anything in local, but definitely need to double check. Twitch, prove me wrong or prove me right. But if that actually is the flagship Navy Scorp of PL, losing it this early, especially in the best of 3, is going to be very painful. Volta here hanging on with one last Rattlesnake, but there's just absolutely no way it's going to be able to claw its way through what Pandemic Legion still has on the field.
Yeah, I mean, losing your flagship like this is just too much.
Okay. Getting confirmed it is not a flagship. I apologize, Twitch. I apologize, everyone. Pandemic Legion, totally cool.
Okay. Well, I mean, even so, if that's the case, it would have been a really costly victory, but now it's still just, who cares?
Yeah, it seemed to me that Pandemic Legion completely had a better understanding going into this than Volta did. It's uncharacteristic, at least I would think so, for Volta just to go with a pure bomber backbone with these 4 battleships and no Logi, along with the fact that they don't have any links. Like, this is a setup I would expect to see from a team that doesn't have the potential that I think that Volta actually has, so I'm a little bit disappointed when I see. Match is over. Gorion, take us back.
All right, well, you know, that's it. Hearing me as Chester and Gorion, we'll hand it back to the announcer's desk.
Just made me drop my fucking biscuit in my tea. I hate you.
Pandemic dropping WeForm Volta's biscuit in their own tea, taking them down for the first match of 3 in this series. A perfect illustration, more or less, of what we were talking about right before, where T3Ds can go in and sweep up some bombers, trying to get that headshot. What do you think, moderator?
So I don't think Volta was actually trying to win the match there. I think what they were trying to do is they were trying to use a bit of a cheese with all the bombers and the heaviest long-range battleships that are basically in the game that are shield tanked. They wanted to all in what they thought would be a PL flagship and then kill it and then try to win the next 2. They realized that they probably can't win the series if that flagship is still alive, and I think that's actually pretty smart of PL to maybe not bring it on the first setup, possibly expecting that and trying to feel it out. What's your take on that, Fozzie?
Yeah, I mean, this is actually something we've seen PL do in some previous tournaments, where they get a kill on a flagship, get a kill on a crucial alliance tournament ship that then helps them win series later. I think it was a very smart play. It made a bit of sense then seeing why they went after the Sleipnir rather than the Scorpion in the beginning. I think if that had been the flagship, they would have went all in on the Scorpion to try to kill it. But then because it wasn't the flagship, they decided to go for the Sleipnir instead and just couldn't kill it fast enough. The Tech 3 destroyers just ripped through the bombers. Like I said, really good hard counter. It's just such a flexible ship. You can use it for tackle, you can use it for clearing small ships.
Extremely effective in that match. Extremely effective in the tournament overall, T3Ds. And apparently garnering a little bit of attention from Dev for future releases.
And they're strong ships. High skill cap in the tournament. You're going to be having some balance changes to them coming up, but really great in this kind of format.
What do you think for next year in the Alliance tournament? Maybe a point increase for the T3Ds?
I actually like having them be relatively cheap. They're ships that require a lot of skill to get the most out of them, and it's always good to encourage those kind of ships rather than ships that are a bit easier to fly.
Now, of course, we did promise the viewers yesterday a little bit of chat from you about the rules changes this year that have come to the AT and your process for doing that year on end. So why don't you walk us us through some of the differences in the rule set that PL and V0LTA are working with versus what was occurring last year?
Yeah, so the biggest change by far is the reduction of the number of pilots on the team from 12 to 10. We did that primarily to allow smaller teams to be able to easily compete and do more in-house practices, but also because it shakes up the meta quite a bit. It provides a very different type of format. You have fewer pilots available, so you often will have a smaller support wing. We also shifted around the points to kind of incentivize some more larger ships, which is why we've been seeing so many battle cruisers, so many battleships, and reduce the points of Blood Raider ships as well, which is why I've been seeing so many of them here. It fit a theme, and Blood Raider ships are just fun to watch in a tournament, I think.
Moderator, how are you liking these rules changes?
I think the rule changes have largely been positive. If you hadn't changed the rules, I think you would have seen a lot of a static meta from the last year coming into play. But besides the Hicks changing, you had that change, you had logistics fall-offs change. There's been a lot of really good, interesting changes, not just to the rules, but to the meta as a whole to shake it up. So I think it's been overall a positive decision.
And we can see the impact of those changes and the impact that they have directly on V0LTA in this match summary coming up on your screen now, showing Pandemic Legion delivering 257 points of damage across, only taking 152 from V0LTA.
Yeah.
That not so much reflecting pricing on the Blood Raider ships, but definitely showing Pandemic Legion's abilities in the arena to just control a match with those Tech 3 destroyers.
Yeah, I mean, this Volta team is probably the highest DPS team we have seen in this tournament so far. Really all in. This is a team designed to be able to kill enemy ships really fast. Unfortunately, they just lost the bombers so quickly. It's interesting that with this team, they banned out the Widow. I would have expected maybe banning something like the Sveeple, although maybe they thought that would give away their hand too much.
Maybe they were just worried about the Scorp Navy issue and the Rattlesnake not getting the spotlight they deserved as hulls that share a similar layout.
If they're relying really heavily on the drones from the Rattlesnake as well, Widows and Jams in general are really effective against the small number of high-powered drones on Garista's ships. So that's something they could be worried about, but I have to imagine that because we only allow Tech 1 drones, that the drone damage from the Rattlesnakes is a relatively small part of the overall damage of that team. So I doubt that's what they were really worried about.
Now here's the question, Moderator. In the next match, does PL come with a serious Alliance Tournament ship heavy, like genuine comp that they've worked up and we haven't seen before, or do they stick with something a little bit more steady and just try and ride out the win?
Traditionally, what I would have done, as this is a team captain going this far, I would just try to end it, close it out, give my time for my pilots and myself to recharge and get ready for the next series that you might have. Just get prepped for tomorrow. Just end it over. People can get a bit fatigued having to play a best of 3. So just end it. Don't risk it possibly going to a third and just close it out.
Yeah.
All right.
I think in this situation, though, they've got the extra week in between for any other matches, so they probably... they will get some time to recharge. It is very harrowing, though. Having to do 3 matches head to head, it's really rough.
Well, fortunately, the pilots will have a break here as we move to